Hello and welcome to Monday Night Karl and Anthony. That's right, it's the A2theK Wrestling Show, our favourite wrestling show, and yours. Anthony, tell the people what we have in store for them this week.
Well, Karl, this week, we have the Ringside Report, in which we're going to talk about all the latest news and rumours in the world of wrestling this week. We have This Week in Wrestling, which we're going to talk about the four big shows being Raw, NXT, Dynamite, and SmackDown. And then this week, we've got another unique segment in which we're going to talk, and I think you might have changed the title on me, so let me just double check what it is now called. We're going to talk about the 10 most over superstars that WWE released. And this is something that obviously has come about as a topic due to the constant and very recent releases from WWE. So that is this week, Karl. That is this week on our show.
A stellar week, Anthony. And yes, very topical as well in terms of what we're going to cover in segment 3. But before we talk about the news, let's start off with our A2theK little known fact of the week. And sing us in, Road Dogg.
Oh, you didn't know? You didn't know?
Like twice, that's it. Yeah. So nice, do it twice. So, accidentally pressed the button, but it's cool. I feel like I handled it well. It's all right, right?
Nice,
so, The Undertaker, Anthony, your favourite wrestler. Indeed. He holds the record for the most WrestleMania matches having appeared at WrestleMania 27. No, having appeared at 27 of the 37 WrestleManias. God damn it. Yeah, he's been in shitloads basically. He's only missed 10.
Suppose by that he did appear in WrestleMania 27, so both statements were correct.
Probably. That is probably correct, yeah, that's what I meant. But he's appeared in 27 of the 37 WrestleManias. However, did you know Undertaker has never entered WrestleMania as the world champion? Believe it or not.
That is surprising. What? It's one of the things that you assume is a given, isn't it?
Well, exactly. He's been in so many, especially WrestleMania 27. But he has actually won the title on 3 separate occasions. He beat Psycho Sid in WrestleMania 13. He beat Batista at WrestleMania 23 and Edge at WrestleMania 24. But he's never entered as the champion. So yeah, 27 appearances and he's never entered as the champ. Mind
insane
blown. And that was our Oh You Didn't Know random crazy A2theK fact of the week. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And here's Road Dogg again for the 3rd time, because why not?
Oh, you didn't know?
Wonderful. Beautiful.
Amazing. Right. I enjoy these fun facts every week, Karl. I'm glad we've added it, and I hope it stays for many moons to come. I really do.
As long as there's facts, we'll tell them, damn it. You might know all the facts, but still, that might,
Straight facts. Right, so let's talk about the Ringside Report then, shall we? So I'm going to do a quick run through the headlines, Karl, as I tend to do, and then we'll talk about them in some depth. So, coming up today in the Ringside Report, we have the one and only Charlotte responding to comments made by Dave Meltzer. We have in UK wrestling news, we have MPs debating on the regulation of wrestling in the UK. We have WWE being unhappy with Snoop Dogg following his appearance in AEW. We have, I don't really know a good title for it, but we're going to talk on the whole Mickie James trash bag incident and obviously the subsequent release of Mark Carrano. We have Batista confirming he is officially done with wrestling. We have Christian planning to end his career in AEW. That might be a bit misleading, that one. We'll talk about that some more shortly. We have JR stating that AEW will be releasing an aggressive touring schedule soon. We have Kurt Angle stating that he has something on with WWE at the moment. We have more WWE releases, but this time on the corporate side of things. We have Daniel Bryan wanting to work for other wrestling companies. And we have, lastly, Impact Wrestling teasing a recently released... So close. It's the last one as well. We had...
It's because I put it in. I was trying to throw you off. That's what it was.
We have Impact Wrestling teasing recently released WWE wrestlers for Slammiversary pay-per-view in July.
I mean, in hindsight, that is not the easiest thing to say. So I apologise about
that. So that's our headlines for the week.
That
Carl.
is the
Would you like to
headlines.
kick us off with what
I would
Charlotte
love
said
to
today?
kick off about Charlotte Flair. I always
When
love to kick off
Charlotte
about
met
Charlotte
Dave,
Flair.
let's talk about it.
So, our buddy Dave Meltzer, basically, he's been a bit of a dick. So
No.
Charlotte has been off TV for quite a while, and there's been many reasons and rumours about why that might be. One or two of them being around potential surgeries that she may have had. And Meltzer came out and said, and I quote, "She's just having a complete makeover, you know? That's just basically what's happened. So it's one of those things. They make you real subconscious about your looks when you're a woman in wrestling, and it's just one of the negatives about it, but it's a reality of it." So he basically implied that, she's gone off to go and have a lot of surgery because she feels self-conscious and wants to be, looking different or whatever for the business. To which Charlotte has, maybe quite rightfully, took umbrage to. She said, I've just listened. I thought Meltzer would have learned his lesson last time commenting about women's bodies, but apparently I'm fair game. So I get to respond, again, to a rumour about my body, again. And you know what? This is when I stop. Dave, go to hell. You have my phone number. It would take you 30 seconds to ask, as opposed to giving straight crap to your listeners. Grow up. For you, of all people, to comment on women's looks, do you have any shame, decency, or professionalism left at all? Find a mirror. Look hard, Dave. Like, wow. So Charlotte was pissed, basically. But yeah,
Okay.
I think
Totally agree with what Charlotte said, right? And Dave's a cunt, right? But I do want to say, and I am in no way saying that, like, because I'm trying to avoid, like, this being, like, a thing of, like, let's blame Charlotte, because I'm not. But what I don't think helps is, I personally feel Andrade kind of fuels the whole discussion about Charlotte and Charlotte's appearance in the way he conducts his social media. Because he's sort of, I get what he's trying to do. He's making it like he's defending, like, oh, look how beautiful she is. But it's like, but then you're making that a topic again, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, she's saying, mind your fucking business, and then you're making it people's business. I don't know. I'd say they're entitled to do whatever they want to do. But I'm just like, well, it sat nicely just having it. Charlotte said a piece, and I totally agree with it. But then you had, obviously, Andrade making a couple of points as well. Basically, let's objectify it again. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, someone who wanted to weigh in on the conversation was obviously the former TNA champion, Moose, who quite eloquently put, "I wouldn't worry about Dave. I mean, he looks like my vacuum cleaner bag when it's full. So, yeah, you look like a goddess, so don't sweat it." So,
nice one, Moose.
yeah. I don't know. I think, obviously, I mean, there's been a lot of rumours and people talk, don't they? But at the end of the day, Charlotte's come out and tried to say, well, literally, you've got my phone number. If you wanted to ask me anything or talk about anything related to what you believe, then you could have done that. But to, project what you think on your thing without even speaking to me is a bit, bit insensitive.
It's interesting, really, isn't it? Like the position Dave's in, and the fact that he's clearly got Charlotte's number and he could talk to her. I'm not saying, like, get her on the show, let's talk about it. But, like, yeah, he's gone about it in a way that, like, a creepy fan would, hasn't he? More than anything, like, he could have done it professionally and gone, well, do you want to be able to talk publicly about, obviously, this topic? Like, people are talking about it. The wrestling community can be quite bitchy, and they're talking about it. Do you want to sort of clear the air publicly with me? And she could have said yes or no. Do you know what I mean? There's many ways he could have gone about it, but he's basically gone the same way as the toxic fandom and gone, well, let's just bitch about it, shall we?
Dave Meltzer, a creepy fan. I mean, like, look, like, just because he's got some kind of fucking Wrestling Observer thing and he does some weird, subscription model or whatever, people look at him as like this like be all, know all, end all fucking character in the wrestling world. And the fact is, he doesn't know shit, really. And he loves wrestling, fair dues. But I mean, fucking hell, like, if you're gonna get your whole news source from fucking Dave Meltzer, then be in for a disappointing time, because he makes grave assumptions about stuff, and sometimes they turn out true, sometimes they don't, and if they don't, then plans changed. But it's like, you're talking about a young lady's face, and it's like you're putting out in the world that she's had X, Y, Z done. If she comes out and says, you know what, I haven't, then you can't, because after all this happened, he was like, well, you need to listen to the whole interview or the whole segment, Charlotte. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, you've quoted as saying that. So, like, even if later you go on to deny it, like you probably do with everything, you're still a twat because you've come out and said it. So, basically, fuck Dave Meltzer, and that's the end. That's the end of what I'm saying.
It's a fair point because it is like you say, it's up to her. She can say, yeah, I have, or no, I haven't, or she can say nothing at all. That's entirely her choice. And it's a man in his position is kind of an odd thing to sort of moan about, I suppose.
And I've made a terribly creepy graphic for YouTube followers out there. So if you watch this, I'm sorry. The more I look at it, the more it stares into my soul. So yeah, that's all I'm saying on that one.
Terrifying.
Just like Dave. So yeah.
So, speaking of creepy bastards in the world of wrestling, that's not the right segue at all. Let's talk about this seriously. So the next one I've got, Carl, is it's basically this whole thing that's being sparked from the speaking out movement. So the speaking out movement, obviously, that was across the whole wrestling industry, but hit big in the British wrestling scene. In actual fact, obviously, we've spoke to popular female wrestlers in this country who have experienced this firsthand. So we know that there's a real problem in this country, in this wrestling scene, and one impassioned. I don't want to misquote and say he's from another party, but yeah, he's a Tory MP. I just want to double check that. One Mark Fletcher is particularly impassioned about regulating this in some way, and quite recently they've compiled a report together. And I will paraphrase. This is all available for reading. If you want to go to the Beeb, if you want to read the sort of full sort of take on his his passion as to why he wants this changed, and he clearly loves wrestling, and you can really get a vibe of what he's going for, and I can totally respect that. But to keep it as condensed as possible and to give an idea, the group have put this report together, and this is going to I don't know what's his name.
Some guy somewhere.
Yeah, so it's going to the sports minister. Now, basically, what they're suggesting is they want, or they've recommended, and they would like, and they think this would benefit the wrestling scene in this country, to establish a governing body in the UK to effectively promote British wrestling. They want to define training as a sport and shows as an art to ensure they are covered by the right protections. They want to increase in the health and safety standards across the board, as well as safeguarding rules for young fighters. And they want to set up a system for those who are abused or harassed within the industry following the speaking out movement. And every single suggestion, I think, is a really good idea. I know this can frustrate a lot of the smaller indies, especially like the increase in health and safety standards. People who've been doing what they do for a long time, and they know this stuff might be a bit sort of affronted having basically some government officer telling them like this is the standards and you're not meeting them. I get that, but at the same time, this is all with an aim to protecting people, and it just I don't know how you feel about it, Carl, but the suggestions are certainly ones I think that hopefully everyone can get on board with.
I mean, imagine regulating what is rightfully a sport and what is rightfully an art, and should be fucking regulated from the beginning. This has got so many benefits to every independent wrestler in the UK. If you look at all the promotions across the whole country, they've had to suffer in this whole pandemic. They can't put on shows, they can't do anything, and while that might not have been fully resolved by the changes they're talking about, it's the changes that it needs. It should be regulated. It should be treated as a sport. It should be treated as an art. And based on the conversation we had with Lizzie, there's a lot of work to be done, especially for younger, especially females in the business who are coming up. So, everything they've said and everything they are talking about seems to me like the right thing. And it's about time that wrestling started to be, moving away from the carnival scenes of back in the day and being a bit more, regulated and treated with the respect it deserves, and having the, the things in place for the right circumstances.
Yeah. That brings me to a good quote from Mark Fletcher when you're saying about the respect it deserves, because he's actually been quoted as saying that British wrestling needs to respect itself if others are to respect it as well. And I like that as a statement.
Yeah, it's true.
And it is, and it makes sense. Like you say, they need to sort of move forward away from those carny days because it's a different animal now. And obviously, as I say, the report's going to the sports minister. While I did struggle to find his title before, that's one Nigel Huddleston, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And,
the most British name that ever Britished.
Nigel
Huddleston.
Where's he from? Well, he's definitely involved in the government, and he's probably living in London. Anyway, So he's actually welcomed the report, and he said that he's open for discussions about whatever support can be provided to wrestling, and that he's going to consider the report in full. So we sort of wait to see what may come of it, and we know what red tape and what policy and practice can be like. So we know that will probably be a little while before any regulation is brought in, but obviously the sooner the better. And what a great idea! And hopefully, you never know, some places might take some spin from this and go, you know what, they're the suggestions. There's no reason they can't get ahead of it and start bringing those sort of policies in for themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Before it becomes a requirement, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And hopefully that all happens.
Indeed.
And speaking of things that hopefully might happen, Anthony. Terrible segue again, but why not? As reported back in December, Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg, apparently has some heat with the WWE. So, after agreeing to appear on the January episode of Dynamite, Snoop has now confirmed that WWE was indeed unhappy with his decision to show up on AEW TV. Apparently, he said they felt some type of way. So, yeah, they definitely did. We don't know what way they felt, but they definitely felt some type of way. But yeah, so he said the whole point of him being on AEW TV was to promote the TBS show, the Go Big Show. And he said, you know what, let me tell you this. Snoop Dogg ain't no wrestler. He's bigger than that. You got to understand that. And this is the dynamics of what happened. I had a show on TBS called Go Big Show. Cody was one of the judges on that show, and he's one of the top dogs at AEW. So as a promotional vehicle for the gig, I went on AEW. So yeah, makes sense. Of course it makes sense, because why wouldn't you show up to...
You can totally see the connection there. Like, you can understand the connection with WWE because of Sasha Banks. You get why he appeared on there. You know, it wasn't random.
Exactly, right? But apparently he went on to reveal the word he received from WWE after his AEW appearance was, hey, you fucking with them? We got to push pause on your ass for a minute. So I say, cool. And they push. I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't do this. It's not me. I'm trying my best. So bear with me, right? But they push pause for about 2 weeks, and then they say, "Hey, man, we got a video game and we need you." Well, you know what? Since you all told me to push pause, that'll be double. So very WWE kind of thing. They obviously got really butthurt with the fact that he showed up on AEW, wanted to pause that partnership, and then for some reason, we're like, do you want to be in the video game though? And he's like, can do, but now it's going to cost you more. So
it's shit like this that makes me laugh. When it's like, there's all these things going on about this. Oh, AEW aren't really competition to WWE. WWE aren't scared of AEW. It's like, so they're just petty then? It doesn't make them look good. Like, I mean, to hope that they're at least a little scared of them. Otherwise, this is just some petty bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, like the worst example of that for me was Vicky Guerrero. Like, Vicky being
totally blackballed,
dead to them now. Basically, is a horrendous,
ridiculous. Like, no respect at all to her family.
Terrible. And it wasn't because she, left WWE. They binned her off anyway, and then she went, okay, well, I'm not making any money anymore. I'm going to go make some money. And it's like, how dare you go make money? And it's like, what the fuck? Like, they are terrible, terrible people. It is insane.
So, yeah, the WWE are hating on the Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Madness. Crazy. Madness.
So, speaking of hate, Carl, I don't know, these segues aren't working this week. Here's one that's been going around. Like, a lot of people will already know about this shit, but obviously it just keeps giving this story. So obviously, Mickie James quite recently put out a tweet in which he showed the care package That's I can't really. I keep forgetting that we're an audio medium mostly. The air quotes.
There was air quotes.
So the care package that was sent by WWE, in a, I don't know, making a point, well, a very fair point, because it would seem. So for those who haven't heard about it, basically they gathered up his stuff that was left in the locker room and sent it to her in a nice little bin bag with a label on it that said Mickie, or Mickie James. I don't know, but she sort of put it out on Twitter saying, just to make it clear for Vince, I think she tagged Vince, Triple H, maybe Stephanie as well. I've got my care package, and started this whole spark of like, that is so disrespectful, which it definitely is. But what surprised me initially, Carl, was like the amount of people. Like we had like the likes of Maria Kanellis and Gail Kim, and you consider how long Gail Kim's not been there, and they sort of confirmed that they had similar treatments. And so this is something that has been going on for that long, which is insane to me. Wasn't just like a sudden asshole move. This is something they've been doing to. I mean, I've not heard any male wrestlers come out with this one yet, so I don't want to make this a male-female thing, but like certainly it's been happening to their female superstars for well over a decade. When we're looking at Gail, when did Gail Kim leave? It must have been early 2000s. Gail Kim left.
Oh god, yeah,
WWE
ages ago.
So
ages.
So that's how long that sort of treatment has been happening, which is insane. So fair play to Mickie for sort of bringing that up, and obviously very quickly she had a response from Triple H and Stephanie saying basically that's totally disrespectful, and the person who was responsible for it is no longer working for WWE. That person was identified as Mark Carrano, who has been with the company for, I want to say again, nearing or maybe over 10 years. Carl, you might be able to confirm that one way or the
other. Definitely a while. Definitely a while.
Yeah. So he's been sort of identified as the one sort of doing that. Now, Mickie is herself. She's actually come out and said that she doesn't feel. She put a whole statement out, so I'm just paraphrasing a little bit, but that she doesn't feel that the likes of Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Steph were aware of this. So she's not putting the blame on their door. And I'm not trying to sort of start the whole hate train, but I'm a bit like, something that's been going on for that long, and bear in mind Triple H was active in the locker room back then as well. I find it hard to believe that they weren't aware of that, personally. But obviously, you never truly know, and they've done the right thing. They've apologized and they've dealt with the matter, assuming the blame is purely at Mr. Carrano's door. But similarly, on the back of that, we had one Christy Olsen has been discussing the trash bag incident, and she was formerly a backstage interviewer, and she sort of talked about Carrano himself, and she sort of explained that what essentially they would be sending back, that it might be something like a lot of wrestlers have their own elements of their own gear and so on like that, so that's the type of thing that would have been sent back. But she hasn't spoke very kindly of Mark, and she's basically sort of leaning in that direction as well. And it seems like the belief that he's just been this kind of guy for quite a while now, and especially with the female talent. So, I mean, firstly, Carl, what do you make of the suggestions that it sort of sits with him? Do you think this is realistic? Do you think this is like a thing that the WWE weren't aware of, but he's been getting away with for that long?
So I think Mark Carrano is a piece of shit. So we will lead with that. He is definitely a piece of shit. We've seen it on Total Divas. We've seen it from every person ever dealing with him, pretty much, that he's a piece of shit. But he reports directly into Triple H. Triple H is not going to just let him, go off and do his own thing. So I don't know. I think there's an element of saving face here from Triple H and Stephanie as well.
I agree. Yeah.
I feel like that is the way they've done it, and Triple H is like, well, go and bag up his stuff, which he's done, put it in a box and send it to her.
Quite fucking literal.
Literally, right? So it's like, that's the way it's always been done. Mickey's posted it, made it a thing that people have latched onto, and obviously, the sponsors. So, Triple H and Steph have gone, well, that person's no longer with the company. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Everybody, as far as I'm aware, who knows Mark Carrano thinks he's a piece of shit. Right, so they probably wanted a reason to get him out.
Well, it's like this when when Christy has said about this, she said like when she'd heard about it, the Mickie James thing, her third sport was Carano, and she's also mentioned the whole situation with Zelina Vega and similar Charlie Caruso leaving, and mentioning like, and I don't know how you feel about this, but essentially suggesting that like all these talks of her suddenly like she's late all the time and this that and the next thing are like these are all things that have like come almost after the fact, and it's almost like his reaction to talent leaving. So it seems like you say, there's a lot of belief that he is just like, yeah, kind of an asshole. Like I
Well,
don't know how else to put it.
his former fiance showed up on Reddit this past week, and basically shed a lot of light on what he was like as a person and kind of corroborated all of these things. She also said that he stole several WWE titles from WWE and kept them under the spare bed in their house. So now
Nice.
an inquisition is going on into, where a lot of these titles went. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's
So all
never.
the years I've been moaning about like, oh, Roman doesn't even come out with the US title. He doesn't know where the fuck it
It
is.
just
Okay.
wasn't there. But you know what? As well, I think it's one of them. Like Mickie James has faced a lot of backlash for this as well, saying like, "Oh, you cried about it, you got somebody fired, whatever." And it's like, Mark Carano supposedly being the dick. Cool. You don't want to see anyone lose their job over something. So whether it was like handled super poorly or whatever the actual reasons were for this, I don't think Mickey's a fault. Mark
No,
Carano,
I resent this kind of shit when they go,
yeah,
oh, you lost someone a job. It's like, no. They made the decision to terminate his contract.
well,
They made the decision to release him. All she did was
exactly.
highlight the fact that he was a dick, right?
Exactly. She
You
never
can't
set
be
out to get
excused
Mark
from it.
Carano fired. Like
No, that
like that
wasn't
that
the
was
end
never
goal.
her agenda. She shared a picture, and now with the whole kind of we spoke about this a bit, like the whole kind of cancel culture. As soon as something like this happens, big companies can't do anything but go, right, well, the right thing to do is to bin this person and to save face. And it's like Mark Carano might be a dick, but was he responsible for this? I don't know. Or was he just
So
taking orders?
if it wasn't a high profile, like I could spin this argument whatever way you want. Like, going, oh yeah, well, Mickey's taking the heat for like getting Mark Carano fired. It's like, no, you people got Mark Carano fired. Because
Mm.
if this wasn't high profile and if the social media went kicking off over it, then he'd have probably got a warning like he would in any other company. But it's a high profile thing in the realms of media, and people are making a big fucking deal of it. So we all got Mark Carano fired if you want to look at it that way.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Uh,
can't put it on air. All she's done is highlight a problem, and it's something that maybe they should be a little less on the nose about, especially because they like to release about 20 people a year now,
mhm.
on release day, and apparently they just come way the fuck out of nowhere anyway. So
That's
maybe,
it. You've
maybe
got
be a little
Christmas
bit more
Day
sensitive about the
up
person
here
you've just
somewhere,
released.
then you've got release day. It's not quite the same excitement, but you do get gifts, just in trash bags. Um, so yeah, moving on to Dave Batista, and the question has come up: will he ever return to WWE? And the answer: no. No, he won't. So speaking of Zach.
Big Marvel superstar Dave Batista doesn't want to come
Exactly.
back to
He doesn't
wrestling.
want to
That's
come
crazy.
back after, the whole Blutista thing and the whole, like, we were going to bring him back to get booed out the building. Why? I
Didn't
can't
he?
understand.
He come back after
Um,
Batista though, didn't he? Come back with the Spice Girls
well, yeah,
gimmick.
he came back as Blutista, then he came back as, like, I'm Batista, but then he still got booed because it wasn't
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan.
Oh, give me what I want, what I really, really want. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, he spoke at Zack Snyder's Justice Con, and he revealed he would never go back to WWE. So, basically, because he's retired. He said, you know what, it's hard to convince people I'm actually retired. You have no idea how tough that discussion is. And you know what, he makes a fucking fantastic point, because he was one of the widely rumoured names when AEW said they had a Hall of Fame worthy talent, for example. So that just goes to show people, were like, well, it's going to be Batista,
Yeah.
even though he is adamant. And the wrestling business, as we know, doesn't have the best track record, if you will, of people who say they're retired, because even old Marley man Sean came back for Saudi Arabia and was shit.
Well, to be honest, now he just comes back to take ladders out from under the ring and pass them to
there
the
is
talent.
that. It's like, I'm going to pass it to you as like I'm some kind of ladder expert, even though, yeah, you had like one match and it wasn't even that good.
Like passing the torch. It's like, well, wouldn't that have been more appropriate with, like, I don't know, Jeff Hardy or someone passing them the ladder? Like, the fuck are you doing, Sean?
And when Anthony says Jeff Hardy in any kind of favourable way, you know it must be true. But yeah, so, Batista has basically taken umbrage to this of people kind of going, he's not really retired. He was like, do you know what? When professional wrestlers retire, they don't really retire. They kind of retire, but when they pay checks big enough or the event's big enough, they come out of retirement. Sean. But do you know what? It's just not that way with me. I exited the business in such a storybook way, I'd never go back. I would never take away from that. I'm just done. I really got to finish on my own terms, and nothing's going to take away from that. So fair play.
I love how he's not said it. He's not said the truth though, has he? When he's talking, like, he might have come back out of retirement if he weren't getting paid by the mouse. Let's be honest. Like, he's getting that Disney money now. There's no way in hell he needs.
It is
money
nice to get that Disney money. But I mean, yeah, he doesn't need to go back. Let's be honest. But anyone who's ever been a wrestler
ever write a paycheck big enough that he would even pique his interest. He's gone. He's on the big screen. He's getting his adrenaline fix without actually injuring himself or putting himself at risk, and he's getting paid big money for it. He'd be a fool to go back. There's absolutely. I can totally understand why he wouldn't. Like, what would be the point?
Not exactly. So yeah, I don't see it myself. I don't think he will. So yeah. That is the story.
Yeah. The only thing,
is he going to come back?
The only thing he could miss would be the crowds, and even they're not there. Like, well, they kind of started coming back, but it's the only thing you can miss from it for him, really.
Except, every other time he came back, he was met with boos, so maybe he doesn't, really miss the crowds that much.
And the only thing, that sounded a bit mean, like I was having a go at Batista. The only thing I was going to say then was, like, I'm going to miss his theme music. It's like, don't miss anything else about him. That's not what I meant. It's just his theme music was a banger.
I walk for miles to cash my Mickey paycheck. That kind of thing.
Place where no one follows me.
It's Disney Plus.
Love it. Yeah, so speaking of wrestlers who probably should be retired now, you won't like that comment, Carl, because you love AEW.
Dude, come on.
This
that was horrendous. Everybody lambast him right now. How dare you say that?
This headline maybe has sounded misleading before, so I'll apologize for that now, because the way I've wrote it was Christian plans to end his career in AEW, which makes it sound like he's done with AEW already. No, he plans on basically doing his AEW contract, which is a multi-year deal, by the way, and he plans on retiring in this company. He, as far as he's concerned, this is the place he's going to finish his career up. What do you make of that, Carl? He's not been very clear about how long his deal is. He's just said it's a multi-year deal, and he's still got, he's still feeling great in the ring, and all's looking great. So we're expecting a lot more matches from him, but he's not been clear about how long. He's just very clear about the fact that this seems to be the place he might retire out from.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think if you signed a multi-year deal with AEW, he's not going to, WWE won't clear him. That's the thing. That's why, he probably left and stuff. So, yeah, he's not going to go back to fucking Impact or something after this, is he? He's gone from WWE to the next big company, and he's going to give them everything they can over the years that he's there, and hopefully he leaves quite a good legacy there. It's a shame that we're not going to get to see Edge and Christian again in any capacity after the Rumble. Obviously,
it is a shame. It is, and I'll be honest, it perplexes me more and more. It's probably just down to, am I right in saying, was Christian, he was not cleared on, was it concussions?
I think it was concussions and to do with his neck as well. So anything to do with
when you
that
go,
area.
I'm not saying like Edge had it worse, but when you're like, well, Edge has been cleared. Like, Edge has been cleared. How can they not clear Christian? But they are massively, massively squeamish over the concussions. And I'm not trying to downplay that, understandably, because there's a lot going on over that at the moment. But, when you go, like, isn't Edge's spine like just a metal rod at this point? And they're like clearing him. So, like, I don't know, like when you see an epic story of Edge coming back from all this, and I don't know, you just feel like the Christian one could have followed suit because I don't know. I just remember Edge's sort of being unfortunately early retired because of it, and I don't know. All due respect to it, the Christian one didn't seem to impact as hard. I don't know. He just seemed to leave a lot quieter. So maybe that's why I don't know enough about why he left or why he stopped. But yeah, it's crazy.
The rated rod superstar. That's all I was thinking. There for Edge.
That sounds like something you're gonna find on Pornhub.
I mean, yeah, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is weird. Obviously, the Edge has been out with quite the career-ending injury and is now being allowed back. But Christian came back, had a match on Raw, kind of, but still won't be cleared. Came back at the Rumble and nothing happened with him. So yeah, look, I don't know whether it's WWE being hypersensitive on the whole lawsuit thing. Would probably be AEW aren't going to clear him if he's not cleared. So I think WWE are just being super, really
cautious.
Kind of cautious, yeah, about it all. Thanks for the word. It escaped me. But yeah, cool. I think they're being super cautious about it and don't want to get another lawsuit. So I think that's why. And I do think he will finish there, and hopefully he will, do some really good stuff for the up and comers.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, definitely. I mean, credit to him and Edge, the pair of them. They're putting the bodies on the line for the sake of entertaining everyone. They've come back from horrendous injuries, and they're absolutely killing it so far. The pair of them. So hats off to them. On my side of things, I went for a walk today, and now my knee hurts. So I understand the pain.
Exactly. This guy on the front lines.
On the front line, I get it, guys, and hopefully I'm going to come back from this, but yeah, it's I know you had a bit of a pop before, and I don't know if I'm big on Christian in AEW in that capacity, but like you say, he's definitely going to be great for the younger talent coming in. The more experience and they can have on that side of things is definitely a good shout. But winning world titles stuff, I don't know, Carl. I just don't know. I don't know, man.
Well, speaking of hats off, we go back to good old JR and his old black hat.
Oh, he wears a hat.
He does wear a hat. Thanks. I tried on that one. I was like, stop talking so I can use the segue.
No.
But yeah, basically, Jim Ross has been talking on his podcast. I mean,
that's fucking crazy.
Maybe go and check it out. I know it's not as big as ours, but still, go and check it out. Help a guy out. Buy his barbecue sauce and that, But still,
I think it's, what is it called, like Bacon with JR or something?
Yeah, Bacon with JR, I think.
That's the one.
Brit Bacon with JR? I don't know. I think he has crossover. But so he said on his podcast that AEW are making some changes. We're adding more content sooner or later with a new show. Ding, ding, ding. What is that going to be? But we are getting our schedule together, and it looks like we're going back on the road pretty aggressively in the beginning of July. And getting back to a live audience is a blessing. I can't wait. It'll help everybody's work. Just can't help but feed off the adrenaline of the audience surrounding you. So, yeah, AEW back on the road.
He makes it sound so creepy, doesn't he?
A little bit. I mean,
if you hear his commentary, off the energy of the audience,
he can make anything sound creepy. He pretty much, made a claim for Anna Jay at one point, but still. I
like the way you made it sound like he was just like dibs.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the commentary. But yeah, I don't know. I think interesting that they're going to get back on the road. I would love to see them back over here sometime. I want to go to an AEW show. I'm not even shitting you. I want to, don't get me wrong, I want to go to a WWE show as well, but just, I don't know, I've never been to an AEW show, and just I think...
We've been to a WWE show, and that was many moons ago, and we struggle to remember it on some elements, but, we've been to that experience. AEW, it's got to be ticked off the list, hasn't it? And you've actually done TNA as well, man.
I have. I was live on TNA TV. I had Samoa Joe and Jeff Jarrett, I think it was, in the crowd. I was slapping the backs.
J.
Yeah, Double J, Joe and Jeff. But yeah, so that's it. That would make my bucket list. I've had WWE, I've had TNA, and now AEW would be
And
the
you knew
one.
Samoa Joe before he was like Samoa Joe. Before he was famous, man. Now everyone knows his name.
That's it.
Maybe.
That's it. Maybe. I mean, he's not with WWE anymore, so now he'll just be back to being Joe. Probably he can't use the name anymore. Maybe he's just
I
going to be Jim.
don't even know. Wasn't he Samoa Joe before WWE? You know, is it
Yeah,
one
of
of
course it
those
was.
rare circumstances? Yeah.
I just imagine they bought his identity, as they tend to do. But
I love them. Have you seen the AEW graphics where they changed the name ever so slightly?
oh yeah, actually, have you?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? I thought you meant like legitimate AEW graphics. Like, what are they doing?
No, the joke
I've
ones.
seen
I
them.
don't know if they've done one for Samoa Joe, but like they always tickle me. So keep an eye out for
Islander Jim.
that. Well, like I'm trying to remember the one they did where it was like it was Texas somebody, and I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, because that's the great fun facts I bring to the show. Like that was something that was funny that I saw that
Texas
time.
somebody that time.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you where I found it, so good luck with that. Anyway, Carl, so they're going to be touring, and it's going to be great, and we're going to see them when they come to the UK eventually, probably one day.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of AEW, Carl, there's been a lot of speculation, and I think it came from this big signing that they had that ended up being what's his name, Christian. That's right, throwing a bit of shade. But one of the main speculations was Kurt Angle, and to be fair, Kurt Angle didn't miss an opportunity to poke a bit of fun at this and put up some little hints that it might be him, but it clearly weren't, and he was just maybe having a laugh and knew what he was doing, but maybe not. Maybe it was just an innocent video to promote his podcast. Who knows? But he definitely knew what he was doing. So a lot of people thought, hey, Kurt and AEW, that'd be a good shout. So there's two things to reveal here on this one. So Kurt was recently speaking to Hannibal TV, in which he talked about his relationship with WWE. He mentioned that his relationship with them at the moment is really good, and he wants to keep it that way. He also referred to the fact that yes, he was released, but he was actually offered the angle to be Matt Riddle's manager, and he actually rejected that. So, you know, it sounds like the release wasn't as a shocker kind of approach for him. It was more of a okay, yeah, doesn't want to do that, so he'll go kind of things, which is interesting. But obviously the speculation always crops up over AEW. Now, he said that he doesn't have any plans on going to AEW. He's never really spoken to them. He said it goes far as saying there was just a couple of messages, but never anything serious. And basically that he has got something going on with WWE right now. So he's basically not going to rock the boat, and he doesn't. He quite clearly said in one of my earlier quotes that he wants to keep it that way in terms of his relationship with WWE. But it leaves us to the disappointing fact that we may never see him in an AEW ring, which is fine, to be honest. He's very synonymous with WWE for me, so I'm quite okay with that. But what do you think the something going on with WWE is, Carl?
It's got to be sort of on the network, I think. Whether it's 24, whether it's
network.
whoa, Olympic gold medalist, yeah. Yeah, I think it's got to be some kind of thing for that. Whether it's like a, I mean, I'm trying to think of the series. Whether it's like a 24, whether it's a other series. That's the only one I can think of for some reason.
I'm like, my head went to Icons. I'm like, there's no way you can be in Icons just yet.
Yeah. There are other series that I just can't place right now, but it's kind of like or like Countdown or like Day of or something. They have loads of shit.
Podcast going to be on the network. Is it going to be like
God.
the Broken Skull sessions, but the Broken Neck sessions? Is that what we're going to have?
Maybe. I like that. I like that a lot. Is that a thing? That should be a thing. But yeah, I don't know because you've got what's his face, Charlotte Flair's sister's husband is like his co-host, haven't he? That guy. What's his name? Conrad.
Yeah, that tracks.
Conrad.
Conrad Thompson.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say some shit. That guy. So I don't know whether or not he would make his way to WWE Network, but yeah, I don't know. I think it is a good sign. Kurt Angle is synonymous with WWE, maybe with Impact for some people, but to you and I, WWE, and I like the fact that he's going to continue that relationship.
Yeah. See, this is why I hate when people do this whole thing of like, oh, if you're an AEW fan, you hate WWE and vice versa. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, there are people I never want to see in AEW. And I dare say Kurt might be one of those people. Because he is WWE through and through. That'd be like John Cena being in AEW. It just wouldn't feel right to me. Like,
It would be
both
weird.
shows exist. I want both shows to exist, and some people just wouldn't be AEW people, and vice versa. Some people are so ingrained to AEW now since its inception that it'd feel weird for me if they went to WWE.
True.
Don't get me wrong, they probably would, because WWE would keep writing zeros until it happened. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm still waiting for that shocker one day when we tune into Monday Night Raw, and it turns out like Vince has, been quietly sort of closing up shop and walking away from it all, and you just see Tony Khan on Monday Night Raw in a very similar fashion to the way WCW went out, and it's like, oh shit, he's actually bought WWE. He's actually been friends with Vince the whole time. What a shock!
Imagine.
Then the forbidden doors blown wide open. Kenny Omega comes and collects another belt. It's crazy shit. All happening in July. July, guys. You heard it here
All
first.
in July.
Just made that up.
2087. So yeah, Kurt Angle. I hope to see him soon.
Me too.
Like literally in person. Hopefully he comes back for the love of wrestling next year, basically.
We hope it.
But the next thing we want to talk about is there's been more departures from WWE. This time, not the talent as such, but the front office, if you will. So a while ago, a guy called Nick Khan took over some serious roles in WWE, and he's basically been stamping his authority on the backroom staff somewhat, and yeah, there's been a few people leave, basically. So, Vice President of Communications, Mead Rust, and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, Brian Flynn, are both gone from the company. Meanwhile, he has hired a guy called Chris Legentil, formerly from the NBA and DAZN Network, and also Showtime. Yeah, I think it's been widely discussed that this Nick Khan guy is bringing a lot of his old school friends over to the company, and I believe he's very high up on the agenda of Vince in terms of he's given a lot of free reign to say bring WWE into the 21st century as an entertainment brand. Similar to what Disney did with Disney Plus and so on and so forth, he wants to make them almost a franchise that similar to like Marvel and stuff like that, where people will come in and be like, okay, well, we want to do a WWE project and so on and so forth. So yeah, he continues to.
You said franchise, like just went straight to John Cena in my head now.
But yeah, so he continues to hire and fire several people, and quite notable people as well, and bring in his own guys. So just a small one, but at the same time, I wonder what that means, and for Vince as well to be given someone this much power. Also with the same name, Khan. The name on the contract does read Khan, but it's not Nick Khan. It's Tony Khan.
But I found it interesting that like quite recently, presumably after these big changes, Vince has actually commended the sort of the corporate side of things, and he said it's like I won't go for the exact quote, but he's basically referred to the current sort of it's not a roster, but you know what I mean, is like the best it's ever been. Yeah, actually, he's quite big on where they are at the minute. So, like you say, he must have a lot of faith in this person.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting
Seems
stuff.
like it.
Interesting stuff. Now he just needs to get some decent writers, and we're good. A joke. Obviously, there's some really good writers in there, probably. Anyway, so I don't know. So, moving over, Carl, to the Daniel Bryan news of the week. We have Daniel Bryan was actually very recently. He was at a meet and greet session. This was prior to WrestleMania, and spoke to Frightful Wrestling. So apologies, I've not got the name to hand. But basically, he was referring to his contract and pointed out firstly that his contract is up soon. Didn't realise it would be up that soon. I feel like he's not long re-signed, but it must have been a shorter deal than I expected. And he's saying basically, almost as you'd expect in the first statement when he's saying that we need to figure out what is a good balance between home life and wrestling. But he made it very clear that he doesn't want to stop wrestling. He loves wrestling, and it's just sort of figuring out that balance and what's best. What he did say, though, and this is the main bit that we need to speculate on, if you will, is that he did say that it'd be interesting if he could wrestle in different companies and WWE. and that is something he is trying to weasel his way into right now. His words, obviously. So that's a very interesting prospect.
I mean, it's not going to happen, is it?
WWE would allow, but what do you do? I don't know how many people have done this before, like where they've gone to your head. Like, I'm a big draw. I'm currently on your main event scene. My contract is reportedly up in September, and I'm turning around and going to you, I will not resign unless you give me the freedom to work for other companies. I could see them turning around and going, you're not having AEW. I could see them doing that. Like
maybe like Ring of Honor or Japan or something.
Yeah, because I could massively see them going. I could see Bryan being big on that and going, look, I want to go back to sort of my roots in some level and do a couple of Ring of Honor shows. And I could see WWE getting on board with that if that is the means to sign Bryan again. But I do honestly, I think the first thing they would do if they get to any sort of agreement like that would be going, AEW is off the cards. I don't think they'd do that. Because it's their biggest rival at the moment, isn't it? So they're not going to jump on that. But I could see them realistically letting them do maybe some stuff, because they've always, Triple H, as it was earlier this year, maybe late last year, when he was like, oh, WWE are open for business when it comes to working with other companies. Although they've literally either bought them or not engaged with other companies, but whatever.
Yeah, I think there will have to be something in it for them. Like if they let Daniel Bryan go to anyone else, they're going to have to get someone in exchange.
Well, I'll call it now, right? I don't even think it'll be someone in exchange. Let's be honest. It's good PR for them if they put the strap on Bryan and then send them off to Ring of Honor to do a couple of shows, and the big WWE logo is just there prominently. It just works for them, doesn't it? It's only a minor thing. It's not, it's not, don't be wrong, it's not like, it's not going to make them loads of money, but when you consider the image it conveys, especially because they are now renownedly known for not working with other companies, and AEW are like, come on, come on, everyone join us. It helps them make a little subtle point, doesn't it? You see the WWE belt in a couple of indie places. It lets them go, look, we work with other people too, but in a sort of way, So I could see them getting that out of it, to be honest.
I mean, who knows? I mean, they worked with ECW back in the day when they were, wanting extra talent on the show, so I think they've always been open to it, but they just haven't really found the right thing that wouldn't feel threatening to them. So Ring of Honor probably is a decent like a show.
Bond villain at this point. He's just like, I like it, I'll buy it. Like,
yeah. How much? And so we move on to the very last news item of the week, Anthony, and it pertains...
Impact Wrestling teasing recently released WWE wrestlers for Slammiversary pay-per-view in July.
How did you know? So last night, Impact put on that show, Retribution, Revolution, some kind of thing begin with that. Yeah. And obviously, spoilers if you haven't seen the show, but Kenny Omega, the belt collector, picked up the victory over Rich Swann and became the, double Impact TNA AEW Mexican
for some
champion.
Reason, they've still got WWE did this in the past. They've still got two belts, but it is a unified title now.
Pretty much.
But
it looks like
TNA
more.
Title,
and for someone with a belt collector gimmick, it works.
But
belts. During that show, Anthony, they aired a preview for Slammiversary 2021, which takes place in July. And similar to what they did last year, obviously the releases in WWE took place on the same fucking day as last year. And last year, Impact did a promo for Slammiversary, and they teased, a Bulgarian flag.
Yes, they did.
Amongst lots of other things. And some of them actually happened to be that they'd signed some of the released wrestlers. This year,
didn't we get
they
Rhino
did the same thing
later?
again. Yeah, exactly. This year, they did the same thing again. So, only this year, they showed footage of Samoa Joe, who obviously is a former Impact star, as well as Mickie James and Chelsea Green. Again, two former Impact stars. But also flags of Mexico on Australia as well. So that could be teasing the likes of the Iconics or Kalisto or Andrade. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they're going for the same shtick again. Does that mean they have signed or are planning to sign a couple of the big players that WWE released? And are they going to make their debut or reappearance back at Slammiversary this year in July?
I mean, it makes sense. Would the non-compete? Yeah, it'd be well up by July, wouldn't it? be all right.
Yeah, so I think it's, what was it, 90 days? So from April, I think it falls like days before Slammiversary, so just
They've
in
got that
time.
well planned, haven't they? That's boss.
Yeah.
It's almost like
It works out quite well for them, to be
in it.
fair. I know, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. Also, slightly of note, slightly digression, but we actually saw, haven't we seen Big Cass or just regular Cass now?
Regular
has
Cass.
he made his appearance at Impact
He's
now?
got
So he's
some
actually
weird
signed with
name,
Impact Wrestling.
like fucking
It's Kaz
W.
XL, isn't it, or something?
No, he's like W.
Oh.
Morrison or something. I don't know what the fuck he's called. But yeah, it's
Oh.
just some random name. But yeah, he is now in Impact. But yeah, I don't know. I think, would it make sense for the likes of Chelsea Green to go back? With Zack Ryder. Yes. The Iconics. If AEW don't pick them up, yeah, it would make sense. But I'd like them to be picked up by AEW. So
I want it won't happen, but I want all the women to be picked up by AEW because that is what the rosters needed. Like Chelsea Green would be a good addition. Like when I don't know if she's still technically injured at the minute, but when she can, she'd be a good addition to AEW. As would the Iconics. I think both would be an absolutely awesome shout. Just to add more to the roster and to give more competition to the roster, I think it'd be ace. But yeah, it seems logical. Like Chelsea Green seems almost like a set given like a previous Impact experience and the fact that I mean, is Cardona, is he signed to Impact or does he just make regular appearances?
I think he is signed now, but I think he's got some injury type things that he's working through. So, but yeah, he is Impact bound. So, yeah, I imagine Chelsea will end up there as well. But the Iconics, I would like to see in AEW. And as for Joe, I think it'd be great if he could work some kind of deal where he could work in multiple promotions, ideally. But all remains to be seen.
I'm still convinced Joe's going to do a bit of a tear back in Ring of Honor for a bit.
Yeah, would make sense to be fair. But he's that big of a star. He could be in any of the promotions. So I guess who's going to pay him more as well? To be fair, but that is the news, Anthony, for the week.
That's the news for the week.
All of the news.
Fantastic
and we will be back with more of our wonderful show after this noise.
Play that funky music, Karl.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A2theK.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.